website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. Hey, why am I using the big stubby Dunlop here? And this is not a commercial. This is just to let you know why I chose this pick, because like many other people, I've been through quite a lot of them, different brands, different types, and I would say that when I was building my picking skills, I really liked the fact that I was playing with a very thick pick with a rounded tip. So it was a little bit of a help to have that tip be round, because then it would pass more easily across the strings. So the tiny little inaccuracies in picking depth were not that important anymore. But as I grew better and more accurate, which is what better means, it means accurate, and the more accurate you are, the better you become, the faster you play naturally. Or are able to play. Not that speed is the ultimate measure, but it's a good measure because we can measure it, right? In music. So why am I using this now? Well, because it's razor sharp. Most people think about picks in the measure of thickness, but that's not the only thing to measure. I really, first of all, like the pick to be thick, so it's inflexible. That's really what thickness means to me, that it's totally inflexible. I can't, bend it in any way. Because if I could bend it, I would get a little delay every time I pick, because my hand would go down and the pick would just wait a little bit before it actually passes the string. And I don't like that. I like for the movement of my hand in the brain to be, it should be immediate instead of having that flexible factor. It's a cool idea if you only do strumming, like Western kind of. Because when I do strumming with this pick, I have to just ease up the pressure a little bit. I'm not holding it as tight as I'm usually doing because I want it to be a little bit flexible, and that's how I achieve that, right? So it's a little bit flappy in my hands, but then, not holding it very tight, it also requires me to adjust it just a little bit all the time, right? Because it's moving a little bit. So I developed the ability to move how I hold the pick, or change how I hold the pick a little bit as I play. Right? I can even turn around as I'm strumming. See, now I'm strumming with the opposite side of it. And that's an extra skill that you don't want to learn if you only play strumming and you only play an acoustic Western guitar, for instance, right? So then you want to use a flappy pick, right? But when it comes to shaping the tone, that's what this video is about. How do we shape the tone? Because one of the most important things with regards to your tone is the pickups of the guitar. I found out, this guitar actually is the result of taking apart a lot of Strats and then learning how to, change the pickups and do different things with the electronics, which is relatively easy on a Strat because it's all here. You take off the scratch plate and you can just do the whole thing. And I really found out that, basswood or basswood or whatever type of wood you have on your body, whatever type of wood is the neck, the thickness of the strings, all those things mean a little, right? They all contribute to the overall sound. But the 80% of the sound, when it comes to the electronics or the guitar itself and not the pedals or the amp, is the pickups, right? So you want to focus there if you want to find that sound that's just right for you. But then after that, or before that even, it's the pick that determines what sound you have. And here's the reason. If you have a pick with a rounded tip, a very thick one, like the Dunlop, the purple Dunlop, I talk about that, it's actually the same color almost as this one, but it's the purple Dunlop, it's 2 millimeters thick, and then it has a rounded tip. If you play with that, you get a much softer sound, but I can do the same thing with this very sharp tip by angling it a little bit. So instead of having it parallel to the string, like this, I just angled it a little bit. So I'm playing, now I'm exaggerating crazily, right? If I pick in this direction, the pick is sliding across the strings, which is emulating a rounded tip. It's the same thing happens. That's picking with the parallel to the strings. If I angle it, I get a more rounded sound. That's completely parallel. So I can go jazzy. Right? Right? And I can get that sharp sound. So that's just here, right? I don't have to turn the knobs of the guitar or do the EQ because I can do those things. I can get that effect. And it all comes down to, just imagine how the string leaves the tip of the pick. This is getting very detailed, but this is a good thing to understand because this really means something, especially when it comes to phrasing and influencing the sound of what you do when you play. That just imagine the string being pushed down by a sharp it's not razor sharp, but it looks like that. Razor sharp tip. Then when it leaves that tip, it goes snap, right? Because it leaves it very quickly and without grazing up against anything. If I am playing with a tennis ball, almost, right? If I have a rounded tip and the string leaves that, it's like it's grazing. It's like the attack, the sound, the noise of that noise, this noise you're also hearing when I'm picking the string. That's what provides that snap in the sound. And if I remove that snap, that initial sound, that attack from the note, if I add a little distortion, right? It sounds like a guy who can't play, but it also sounds like what? A violin? A church organ? What is that sound? Is that a synth? What is it? Right? So the whole feeling or the whole idea, the whole sense of you playing a guitar comes from this sound. Right? So that sound, that initial sound when you pick the string is very important, right? It's so important that if it wasn't there, people wouldn't know what instrument you were playing. Right? So what influences the sound more than anything else is the pick, then the pickups, in my perspective, in my experience. So you wanna choose carefully. And when you're phrasing, if that's what you're doing, you don't want to think so much about making it easier on yourself to practice alternate picking or picking in general, which I recommend a pick with a rounded tip if you're practicing picking. Because when you're practicing something as challenging as picking or sweep picking, you want to make it as easy as possible to get the job done in the beginning. Once you master that with an easy pick or an easier pick with a rounded tip, which makes your inaccuracies less demanding on you, so you can have a slight change in picking depth without being punished. If you're using a sharp tip and you have just a slight change in how deep you go when you pick, you get an increase of 300, 400, 500% in resistance with that picking stroke, and that makes you compensate by using a lot of force to pick. Because if you're using a lot of force, then it doesn't matter how deep you pick, because you just overpower all those inaccuracies, right? But if you're using a rounded tip, then suddenly you can use less force, you can practice longer, and you can build your picking technique. Once it's up there and you're good at it or you master it, you can start changing the pick to something that's a little bit more demanding, but gives you more tone control, which is a sharp pick with a stiff pick with a sharp tip, right? And so when you are phrasing, you don't need to think about the rounded tip. You need to think about having the sharpest one possible, which is also inflexible, because that gives you the most amount of control over your sound. That's a very hard sound. Right, and you can do it soft. By picking with the side almost, right? And then you can go from... So that's very important. So this was just my, what I would have told myself if I had to speak to myself 10, 20 years ago about what picks to choose. So that's why I'm using a big stubby Dunlop. And as I said, this is not a commercial. I do, however, want you to go check out a new course on phrasing. That was a commercial, which is basically a collection of really cool licks that will build your phrasing skills. We also have a little class on how to perform, how to practice each of these phrasing techniques, like sliding, bending, everything in the most effective way, so you learn them as fast as possible. And then we have these little training routines, you could call them, where we combine every phrasing techniques into little bundles. It's just basically licks, but we packed as many phrasing techniques in there so you get to combine them, which is really the challenge of phrasing. So I warmly recommend that you spend the next 4 weeks focusing only on phrasing, because 4 weeks with a total focus, total immersion on one thing will make you better. A little bit each day won't make you that much better. So go check it out anyway. And then be sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to this video, to this channel. Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.